Hey everyone, my name is Nathan Jones, and if you're new here, welcome. I like to talk about all things movies, specifically Blu-rays, and today we're going to tackle the Rad 9 Challenge. Now, the Rad 9 Challenge is from my friends Mel, Justin, and Garrett, who have the Rad Pack podcast, and then also the channel, and they all have their own channels as well, but they made a really cool community kind of post where they wanted to challenge other people in the community to presenting their 9 films that kind of made them and developed them as a moviegoer, a movie lover, somebody who likes watching movies, right? And I had to think about this for a bit and kind of gather my thoughts of my early memories as I was developing into this love of this crazy medium of ours. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. These are my Rad 9 picks that made and developed me as a movie lover today. And now, what about you? Are you going to be joining in this challenge, or what are some films that made you? Let me know in the comment section down below. I would love to hear your thoughts on kind of how you developed as a movie lover. So this fits right into kind of the theme of my channel in general, is just making sure that I get to interact with all of you, and then also kind of see and what the shapes of how we developed as what we're obsessed with today. So anyway, let's jump into this now, and be sure to check out the Rad Pack and all their channels down in the link down below. But anyway, let's jump into my Rad 9. All right, so the first film is one that terrified the hell out of me as I was a 4-year-old kid, and this is a memory of mine from the film Fantasia. Now, obviously, I've recently talked about this a little bit, a lot actually. I've been talking about it quite a bit, but it is a film that's really underrated. But at the same time, I remember watching the Night on Bald Mountain sequence, the very end of this film with Chernobog, and it scared the piss out of me. And I don't know why, but it just stuck with me as a kid. And ever since then, it's kind of something I fell in love with, because it's something that combined music and movies, and that's 2 loves that I have quite a bit. And seeing it kind of as a visual poetry kind of developed that way. But at first, it scared the hell out of me. So yeah, Fantasia, go watch that film for everybody. Underrated film. We're going to continue with the Disney route, but when I was around 7, when this came out in 1999, I have with my cousins that is pretty fond, and we just got out of the theater to watch Tarzan, and we just fell in love with the songs. Of course, Phil Collins, right? Why not? He didn't have to go that hard. And we also wanted the toys from McDonald's. That was our big draw, as we wanted to get the toys, we wanted to get the soundtrack, we wanted to get all of that and all the memorabilia at the time. My dad was a hoarder, so that's where I developed that. And anyway, Tarzan, just a really great Disney film. And I think this was a great decade for Disney. Of course, I could have put Toy Story or Lion King here. I watched the hell out of those films too. But, Tarzan has this really special memory in my mind as I remember hanging out with my cousins. And we're going to talk about me hanging out with my cousins again shortly. But next, we want to talk about my obsession with dinosaurs. Now, I think a lot of kids have an obsession with animals or dinosaurs of some sort when they're growing up. And of course, perfect timing because I got to watch Jurassic Park. Now, this came out a year after I was born, but I watched it pretty early on in my life. I want to say I was around 5 years old. So right around the time that I think The Lost World came out, I watched this and The Lost World, and eventually would watch something like Jurassic Park 3, which I think is underrated. I think it's a lot of fun. But regardless, Jurassic Park really, captured my love of dinosaurs, my love of adventure. It also scared the hell out of me, so maybe there's a theme here with Fantasia and Jurassic Park scaring the hell out of me. I remember watching it and thinking, also really being scared of getting on electric fences or just trying to climb a fence in general, because I was thinking I was going to get shocked. Water ripples, if I ever saw that, I was like, okay, is there a T-Rex around here? And then also door handles, and you get a little scared thinking velociraptors can open those things. But yeah, Jurassic Park, it's in a lot of our DNA, dinosaur DNA. But anyway, Jurassic Park, that is a movie that shaped me. Next is I'm going to go back to my cousins and my love of a really bad movie in here. This is a 4-pack. And I'm talking about Batman and Robin, the worst one of the bunch, but the one that I have the fondest memories of growing up, because I watched this with my cousins. Once again, up in Kansas City, we would hang out and we would actually talk about wrestling. We would play with action figures, Star Wars, and the like. In fact, Star Wars could probably be right here alongside Batman. It's equal in my memories of things, but I know a lot of people are probably going to be talking about Star Wars, but I was obsessed with that too, of course. But Batman and Robin, just really solidified my love of toys, memorabilia, cheese, and just wild things. Because that movie's not great, but I had a really good time, just hanging around, watching it several times with my cousins when I got the chance to. So, so it developed my love of superheroes, action figures, and the like. So Batman and Robin, you have a special place in my memory. It's not good, but it's there. All right, so next we're going to go back a little bit to the first era of the Game Boy. And the Game Boy I got obsessed with pretty quickly because there was a little game called Pokemon that came out, red and blue, and then eventually yellow. And ever since then, I've kind of been a little bit slightly like low-key obsessed with Pokemon. I actually know quite a bit about it, which is weird, but this is a game that I put down pretty often, and then years later I will find my Game Boy and then I'll just join back up and I'm like, I'll play it for a month. And that's what just happened recently, actually. But the Pokemon, the first movie, I remember very fondly being really excited because of course I had Pokemon cards, I had the game. We're going to come out with a movie, and it also comes with a Mew card that everyone remembers that. And then also going to like Burger King and getting the toys. There's just a lot of things with it that a lot of people were like really excited about. And watching it now, it's such a great film because it really has a lot of emotional resonance that a lot of people don't realize, I think, even kids. I feel like parents probably cried when they watched this movie because it has such a powerful message, which is wild because it's a kids movie. It's not something that's supposed to be, this emotionally impactful. But Pokemon's been an obsession with mine. Like I said, for a long, long time. It's something that I can't quit, even in my 30 years of existence plus. Pokemon first movie, this is definitely something that shaped me. All right, next we're going to go to my teenage years, my preteen years, really. There was a film that my neighbor and I decided to watch, or eventually. One of my best friends growing up, he was next door to me. We watched a lot of our anime together. In fact, I could put some anime here. I know I talked about Pokemon. He was also obsessed with that. He had an Ash Ketchum hat on all the time, which was awesome. But one thing that we watched, and we loved silly things, was Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Now, we started joking about this because I think we heard about this through the grapevine, and just hearing about a bunny rabbit that like kills people and knights who say knee, and we didn't really know what to expect. And then we eventually watched it for the first time, and we had a blast watching it, and it quickly became an obsession of mine in my teenage years as I progressed throughout my life. In fact, it's one of my favorite films of all time now. So it really just speaks to me because I love British and dry humor, and the sensibilities of just something being absolutely ridiculous, but having some kind of a little slight purpose to it. Even if it's nonsensical, there's something about Monty Python and pretty much this film in particular that really stuck with me. I was also obsessed with the Middle Ages at the time and history, and so it also played in with that. So of course I knew about the things going on, with Antioch and the Black Beast of Ah and all those things, even though there's some fiction in there. But I really fell in love with that and all the characters and King Arthur and all that stuff. So anywho, Monty Python and Holy Grail, all I gotta say is neat. All right, so next we're going to get into some franchises, and one that I actually collected all the VHSs from, and one that really stuck with me as a kid, and because I watched this with my dad, and I really, really fell in love with these movies, and I'm talking about the original Planet of the Apes series. So Planet of the Apes, which came out in the late 60s, something that about this movie, I don't know what it was that really just drew me in, but I remember having the VHSs. I had a 5-film VHS, which actually has all the films in here, right? Beneath the Planet of the Apes, Escape from the Planet of the Apes, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, and Battle for the Planet of the Apes as well. These are not great movies. They're a lot of fun. I would say the first one is a really great film, but the rest of them, I have a special love for Beneath the Planet of the Apes, the second one. But yeah, there's this crazy sci-fi adventure that I just kind of adored with it. So I think around the same time, obviously, I was into Star Wars, and so anything science fiction, I was a little bit interested in. But I think Planet of the Apes was something that really just, I don't know why, but it just spoke with me. and also my dad, who showed me it, and I really appreciate that from him to show me some classics growing up. That I would, just kind of start my collecting phase here. That's where a lot of my VHSs started coming up, and I'm like, I'm going to collect things. So, Planet of the Apes, I collected alongside Pokemon, Dragon Ball Z, things like that. I was, just, a little collector at the time. All right, so next we're going to talk about another video game obsession of mine, but we're going to talk about a particular film in this giant set. And of course, I'm sure you're already guessing it. What's one of the greatest 90s movies from James Bond? It's GoldenEye. GoldenEye is an absolutely fantastic game. It's one of my favorite games of all time. I think it's probably one of the best Nintendo 64 games ever. It's probably my favorite first-person shooter game, which, shows you how much I haven't grown up. But GoldenEye is also really just a fantastic film. It was my introduction to Sean Bean, who I'm a little obsessed with now. I love Sean Bean and everything he does as Trevelyan, but I was also obsessed with spies at the time. And, I just mentioned with Planet of the Apes, getting the VHSs. I had the VHSs of Tomorrow Never Dies, GoldenEye. Eventually, I would have World Is Not Enough. That would be in the early 2000s, but I would go back. I would get Thunderball. I'd get Dr. No. I would get The Man with the Golden Gun, Live and Let Die. These are films that my dad, introduced me to, and I'm like, okay, I want to collect all the James Bond films. So we'd go to Sam Goody, we'd go to FYE at the time, and we'd get these things. And I loved getting all these VHSs and just watching them over and over again. Just a spy adventures, corny as hell. There's a lot of really great moments in it, but man, I just, there's a really fond memory of mine playing those James Bond video games, of course, with GoldenEye, but also watching the films themselves. So GoldenEye has a really special place in my heart, and I'm jealous of my friend Davey, who's got the original, that cool box set of GoldenEye. But if anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, go follow Davey in the description down below. And last but certainly not least are my favorite films of all time. You can actually see two of them right here. I'm talking about Lord of the Rings. I'm going to talk about Fellowship of the Ring because it's actually my favorite film of the trilogy because I love beginnings. I already mentioned Sean Bean, another, Boromir is in this, and, Trevelyan, who we just talked about. But man, oh man, this was the first epic that really just wowed me. I was obviously, I was really young in 2001. I was 9 years old. And I remember going to the theaters, watching these movies, and just being enamored by the experience of seeing this fellowship of friends, try to accomplish this really crazy task. And the emotional development, I know I had mentioned watching Return of the King with my uncle, and seeing, this is the first, adult male that I've seen cry. There's an emotional resonance with it for me. I remember, going in my backyard with my best friend I just mentioned, talking about Pokemon. We would go and we would, reenact battles like Helm's Deep and stuff. We even had like a bow and arrow, like a real bow and arrow, but we wouldn't shoot at each other. We'd shoot at targets, of course. And then we'd also stick, sword fight, with sticks. And Lord of the Rings started all that, which is kind of wild. It made kids more violent, is what I'm saying. But Lord of the Rings, how great this film is if you've seen them. Watch the extended versions, but this is absolutely one of the founding blocks for my love of cinema and my exploration into this medium itself. But what about you? What are some of your favorite films? What are the 9 films that kind of developed you and that made you rad? I want to know down in the comment section down below, or you can make a video yourself if you want. But anyway, I want to say thank you all so much for watching this video. I want to say thank you to the Rad Pack for putting this challenge out, and all my friends who, pretty much suckered me into getting into this. But I want to say thank you so much. I hope you enjoy it. Comment down below, share, hit the notification bell, subscribe, and I will see you next time. I'm not jonesing around.